okay? All right, for E, oh, I love problems like this. Nobody make fun of me. That's in y equals mx plus b. Do y'all agree? Y equals mx plus b. So does everybody see that 2/5? Whatever's touching my x is going to be my slope, right? So my m, or my slope, is 2/5. And then my base is just -4. Now, it's a y-intercept, which means x should be 0. So this is going to be 0, -4. Make sure on your test you write it as an ordered pair, okay? So I'm going to start this graph at the base, 0, -4. And then my slope is up 2/5. So I'm going to go up 2/5 to the right. Because they're both positive, I'm going up and to the right. I'm going to go up 2/1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I messed up right here. None of y'all told me either. Up 2/1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one should be right here. Y'all don't hate me, because I'm being super nice making these videos. And then connect your 3 points, okay? All right, so that's how you would do E. Now let's look at F. So for F, does this look like mx plus b? All right, it looks really similar. I see an m and I see an x, right? So look at that m. It's -2, but remember your slope should be a rise over run. Okay, so there's my rise, but what is it over? Do we know the run? Good. If it's over nothing, it's understood 1. So my slope is -2/1. And now this is the tricky part. They didn't give us a y-intercept. There's nothing back here. So if you had Miss Poole, she taught you that the base of this graph is your home base, 0, 0. Okay? Because there's nothing there. There's not another base there. Now, other teachers will have their kids write +0. That is also perfectly fine. That means you start at 0 on the y, which is still the home base because there's nothing there. Okay? So I have my y-intercept. It's 0, 0, the origin. And then my slope is -2/1. So there's a couple of different ways you could do this to get a negative slope. My kids, I taught you to go down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. That works perfectly. But you can also go up 2 and left 1 to make a negative slope. Up 2, left 1. That will also work. It doesn't matter which way you do it, because if you notice, the opposite directions still go along the same line. All right, so that's how you graph these lines. If you have questions, y'all know you can feel free to text me. You've got my Google Voice number. So now we need to look at number 2. Then we'll move on to the next part of the video. So number 2 does not ask you to graph. I just asked you for the x and y intercepts. So take a look at all 3 of these equations. What form are these equations in? This should be pretty easy, pretty simplistic. All right, all of these equations, first of all, are in function notation, right? Does everybody see that? So remember, if you see an f of x, that means the same thing as what? Y equals, okay? So if you look at all of these, does everybody agree that every single one of these is in y equals mx plus b? Okay, good. If you can recognize that part, then it should be super duper easy to find the y-intercepts, because I'm just looking for the base, or not the coefficient, good grief, the constant, the back number, the base, the number that's not with the x, of all 3 of these functions. So for the first one, the back number, the base, is -5. It's a y-intercept, which means x should be 0. So that ordered pair is just 0, -5. Make sure you write it as an ordered pair. Okay? For b, the base is 20. Remember, it's 0, 20, because x should be 0. And then for C, there is no base, so what is the y-intercept? Good, we just talked about this. It's plus 0, because there's nothing there. Or if there's no base, you know you start at the home base. So there's my y-intercept for all of those. Now we just need to find our x-intercepts, okay? So if you think back to the last couple of ones we just did, A and B, to find an x-intercept, we made the y 0, right? All right, so look down at these three. I can find my x-intercept by making the y value 0. So instead of f of x, which is the same as y, right? I'm going to put a big Y there. What do I need to put in for y? If it's an x-intercept, the y should be 0. So instead of y, I'm going to put in 0 equals 3x minus 5. Okay? Now we need to solve for x. So I'm going to draw my wall. Cover my x. The opposite of subtracting 5 is to add 5. What you do to one side, you do to the other. So this gives me 3x equals 5. And then we'll divide by the 3 to get the x by itself. So this is going to be 5/3, comma 0. It is okay to leave it as 5/3. Okay? You can't do 5 divided by 3. So you can just leave it. Now, you could also type it in your calculator and get the decimal form of it. But do you see how we'll have to round this? So it'll probably be best just to write 5/3. Okay? All right, for B, same thing. To find an x-intercept, that just means that the y should equal 0. So instead of f of x, which means the same thing as y, we're going to put in a 0. And now from here, we just have to find the x, right? So I'm going to draw my wall, cover x because we want to find it. How do you move a positive 20? Subtract it to the other side. 0 minus 20 is going to give us negative 20. And now I just need to divide by this 2 so I can find out what x is. So negative 20 divided by 2 is going to give us negative 10, 0. So that's my x-intercept there. All right, and then for C, x plus 0, the y-intercept was 0. I want the x-intercept. Now let's think about this one because my kids missed this one like literally half my class in the fall, which is crazy. If this graph is starting right here at the base, then what is the x-intercept going to be? Where is it touching this yellow at? At what number? It's still touching at 0, right? Because it's still at the origin. So the x-intercept is also just going to be 0, 0. Now, how do you check that? Instead of a y, we're finding the x-intercept, which means I put 0 in for y. And what does that equation literally say? X equals what? 0. So the x-intercept is also 0. Okay? So this is the graphing and intercepts problem of your problems on your test. So y'all really just make sure you study these. Text me. Go find Miss Allred, Miss Kane, come to tutoring, whoever, if you need help on these. But if you watch this video and you practice tonight, you should be good for your test.